Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. If you're hearing this, it's not a coincidence. God gave this message for you. You've cried in silence, smiled through storms, held it all together when everything was falling apart. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's faith on fire in God. He saw every tear you didn't let fall. You think nobody notices your effort. Heaven does. You think nobody understands your struggle. God does. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. Some people think power is loud, flashy, obvious, but you're powerful in stillness, your patience, your prayers. That kind of strength doesn't shout, it stands. And when a woman stands with God, the ground shakes. You've been carrying weight you don't talk about, doing right even when it's hard. That's not small, that's holy. That's purpose dressed in pain. You're not here just to survive. You're here to shift something, break cycles, lift generations, speak truth, walk bold. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. He brought you here to remind you you're built different. You don't need anyone else's permission to be powerful. You don't need validation to be valuable. You're already enough, already called, already anointed. So straighten your crown, breathe deep, walk like the kingdom is behind you. Because it is. This isn't the end. And God, he's not done with you yet. This was his message for you. Now go and walk like you heard it. You are not here by accident. God chose you for a purpose. That statement may sound simple, but the truth it carries is anything but. It holds the weight of eternity, the intention of heaven, and the power to reshape how you see yourself from this moment on. You see, the world often tells you that you're a product of chance, of coincidence, of circumstance, that you just happen to be born in a certain time, in a certain place, with a certain set of struggles. But God never works by accident. He never rolls the dice. He doesn't deal in randomness. Every breath you take, every step you walk was written with purpose, care, and design. You are not a mistake. You are not an afterthought. You are not someone God simply tolerated. He chose you. Before you ever felt overlooked, he saw you. Before you felt rejected, he accepted you. Before the world measured your worth by what you do, God crowned you with worth because of who you are. His daughter, his masterpiece, his vessel. The truth is, if you're still breathing, he's still working. And that ache you feel, that restlessness inside your spirit, that's purpose trying to rise to the surface. That's your soul whispering that you were made for more. That's heaven trying to remind you that your life is not a sequence of random events, but a carefully orchestrated story being written by the author creation. You face battles not everyone knows about. You've endured heartbreaks that would have crushed someone else. You've stood in rooms where your value wasn't seen, where your voice was dismissed, and yet you stayed standing. Why? Because there's something inside you that won't quit. That's purpose. That's calling. That's God's hand holding you up even when your knees are shaky. Sometimes we expect purpose to look like a stage, a spotlight, applause. But often it's quieter. It's hidden in your faithfulness. In the way you keep showing up, keep loving, keep believing when there's no confirmation. Purpose looks like patience, like grace under fire, like choosing to speak life when everything around you looks dead. You were created on purpose for a purpose. That means every part of you, your story, your struggles, your scars, they are not random. They are tools, carriers of compassion, vessels of wisdom. They equip you for the mission God has placed over your life. Your pain isn't wasted. God doesn't allow you to walk through fire just to watch you burn. He brings you through to refine you, to shape you, to prepare you. Because there are lives you are meant to touch. There are people waiting on the other side of your obedience. People who need your voice, your story, your faith. Someone out there needs your survival story to find their strength. They need to know they're not alone, and you are the proof that God can bring beauty out of broken places. Don't buy into the lie that because your life isn't perfect, your purpose isn't real. God has always used imperfect people to carry out his perfect will. Look at Moses. He stuttered. She was afraid. Ruth, she lost everything. Mary, she was young and misunderstood, and yet they were chosen. Appointed, called, just like you. Your flaws don't disqualify you. They reveal the grace of God working through you. Your purpose is not canceled because you made mistakes, because you fell, because you doubted. If anything, those things qualify you even more. They give your story weight. They give your words credibility. They give your heart empathy. You are Nasa. An answer to someone's prayer, an answer to someone's question, an answer to a problem this world didn't even know it had. That's why you can't give up. That's why you can't settle. That's why you can't shrink to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain you. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to break patterns, to stand out, to set the atmosphere when you walk in. The light in you was not meant to be hidden. God didn't light your fire for it to burn quietly. He lit it so that others could find their way in the dark. You don't have to wait to be chosen. You already were. Before the foundation of the world, God had you in mind. Before your parents ever held you, heaven already called you. That means your existence carries divine intention. You were created at this time in this generation with your exact voice and vision for a reason. So stop questioning your presence. Stop doubting your impact. Stop looking around for signs when the sign is you. You are the evidence that God is still writing stories, still redeeming lives, still using ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And maybe you haven't seen the full picture yet. Maybe you're still in the middle of it, unsure, in between where you started and where you're going. That's okay. Purpose doesn't always announce itself with clarity. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it shows up in the small moments, the hard decisions, the quiet sacrifices, the tears you wipe when no one's watching. But even in the hidden places, God is working. And even in the waiting, purpose is unfolding. Don't rush it. Don't despise the process. Everything you've been through, every every delay, every closed door, it was shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you. So when the moment comes, when God opens the door, when the world finally sees what he placed in you, you'll be ready, not just talented, but tested. Not just gifted, but grounded. Not just called, but committed. So hold your head up, even when you feel forgotten. Walk with authority, even when you feel unsure. Speak with boldness, even when your voice shakes. Because the same God who called you is the same God who will equip you. He didn't bring you this far to leave you confused. He brought you here to remind you this moment, this life, this breath, it matters. You are not here by accident. You are here because God looked at the world and knew it needed exactly what you carry. You were chosen for this. Your pain, your silence, your resilience. It's all part of your divine calling. That may sound strange at first, especially when the weight of life feels unbearable, when the silence feels more like isolation than peace, and when resilience feels like surviving rather than thriving. But what if I told you that the very things you wish you could escape are the very things God is using to shape you, to call you, to prepare you? You see, we tend to measure our purpose by the applause, by the open doors, by the visible breakthroughs. But purpose, real divine purpose, is born in the fire. It's carved in silence, refined through resistance. Your pain is not a punishment, it's a passage. A holy classroom where strength is taught not in theory, but in truth. Pain teaches you to feel deeper, to understand more, to see others with eyes of compassion. It strips away the superficial and leaves behind something real, raw, unshakable. God never wastes pain. What hurt you didn't just happen to you, it happened for something. For someone, it planted seeds inside you that only pain could water. Empathy, patience, wisdom, discernment. Pain slows you down, makes you listen, humbles you in a way that prosperity never could. And though it's never welcomed, it always carries purpose when you place it in God's hands. You don't need to be ashamed of the tears you've cried. They are evidence that you care, that you're present, that you're human. And every tear has been seen. Every cry in the dark, every silent prayer whispered in exhaustion. Every time you broke down behind closed doors and still managed to show up the next day, it wasn't weakness. That was resilience. That was divine strength wrapped in human vulnerability. And it's a part of your calling. Because someone out there will one day need to know that you made it through. That it's possible to walk through the fire and not be consumed. That broken does not mean buried. That pain does not mean purposeless. And what about your silence? The moments you've gone unnoticed, unheard, unseen. The seasons where you've given your all and felt invisible. Where you poured into others and had nothing poured back into you. Where you've carried burdens alone because the world told you to be strong, to be quiet, to keep going. That silence didn't mean God wasn't listening. That silence was sacred space, a time of transformation. It was in that silence where you heard your own voice clearer. It was in the quiet that you began to hear God's whispers. Not every battle is meant to be fought out loud. Some wars are won in the stillness, on your knees in prayer, tears and quiet obedience. The world doesn't often celebrate that kind of strength, the kind that chooses grace over revenge, patience over retaliation, restraint over reaction. But heaven sees it. Heaven honors it. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. You were choosing to trust what you couldn't see, to surrender what you couldn't control, to believe even when there was no confirmation. And that kind of faith, that's rare. That's sacred. That's part of your calling. Because you're not just being shaped for your own survival, you're being shaped for leadership, for healing, for influence. And the silent seasons taught you how to lead with humility, how to speak with care, how to see through surface things and respond with heart. And then there's your resilient, that quiet strength that shows up day after day. The kind that gets up after being knocked down, the kind that prays again after disappointment, that forgives again after betrayal, that tries again after failure. You didn't choose resilience because it was easy. You chose it because quitting wasn't an option. You chose it because something inside you knew there was more to your life, more to your story, more to the calling that had yet to be revealed. That resilience, it's your legacy. It's what makes you dangerous to darkness, because no matter what tried to break you, you refused to stay broken. You weren't built to give up. That's not in your DNA. You were built to rise, to carry weight with grace, to stand in storms and still sing. And every moment you've endured, every season you've survived, every time you could have given up and didn't, it added layers to your character, depth to your voice, power to your story. People will hear you differently because of what you've been through. They'll feel your authenticity. They'll trust your words, not because you sound perfect, but because you sound real. And that's what this world needs. Real, raw, redeemed. People who've seen the dark and still choose light. People who bled and still choose to heal others. Your divine calling is not separated from your struggle. It's shaped by it, molded in it, empowered because of it. The pain, the silence, the resilience, they're not side notes in your story. They are the story. They're the evidence that you've been chosen not just to live, but to lead. Not just to survive, but to shift. You're carrying something that can't be taught in books or learned in classrooms. It's earned in the trenches. It's developed in the wilderness. And it's revealed when the time is right. So no, you're not behind. You're not overlooked. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. Everything you've gone through has built you into a vessel strong enough to carry the weight of your calling. You were trusted with trouble because you were born to transform it. That kind of strength doesn't come cheap. It's forged in fire. And you, even in your lowest moments, have been rising. Your pain didn't break you. It built you. Your silence didn't erase you. It shaped you. Your resilience didn't just save you. It revealed you. All of it is part of something bigger, a divine assignment, a holy mission. A reason your name is still being called by God even when the world goes quiet. This is more than survival. This is purpose in motion. This is your calling unfolding, one breath, one step, one act of courage at a time. That you don't need to be loud to be powerful. God sees your strength in stillness. That truth alone can quiet every voice in your head telling you that you have to do more, say more, prove more just to be seen. But God does not measure power the way the world does. The world claps for volume, for visibility, for the ones who take up the most space. But God, He honors presence, not performance. He honors obedience, not popularity. There is a sacred kind of strength found in silence, in the still places, in the quiet resolve of someone who keeps standing when no one is watching. There is power in the woman who doesn't need to announce every move, who doesn't need to demand attention to know her worth. She walks into the room and shifts the atmosphere without saying a word. Because her strength isn't in what she shows, it's in who she is and what she survived. It's in what she carries that no one else sees. Not every warrior makes noise. Some fight their hardest battles with their mouths closed and their hearts wide open. And God sees it. He's the strength it takes to stay silent when you could speak out in anger. He sees the self-control when you could lash out but choose love instead. He sees the discipline to stay grounded when everything around you is chaotic. There's something holy about the woman who knows her power but chooses to use it with grace. Something divine about the one who understands that she doesn't need to scream to be heard by heaven. She prays in secret. She gives without applause. She serves without titles. And God sees it all. He sees the tears that fall behind closed doors. He hears the prayers she whispers while everyone else sleeps. And He counts it all as strength. Not the kind of strength the world posts on stages, but the kind that builds nations, that kind that roots families, that heals generations. Stillness doesn't mean weakness. Stillness is often where God does his best work. It's in the quiet where he molds, where he restores, where he speaks. Think of a seed planted deep in the soil. There's no sound, no visibility, nothing flashy happening. But underground roots are growing, foundations are being built. That's how God develops strength in the dark, in the hidden place, in the stillness where no one claps for you, no one retweets your efforts, and no one even knows what you're carrying. But God knows. And that's all that matters. When you choose to be still, you're not doing nothing, you're trusting, you're choosing surrender over striving. And that takes more strength than anyone realizes, because it's easy to fight back, to prove your worth, to shout so people don't forget you. But it takes a different kind of faith to be still and let God fight your battles, to believe that he's working even when you don't see it, to stand on a word that hasn't manifested yet. That's what real strength looks like. It's not loud. It's not always dramatic, but it's unshakable. It's rooted. Think of the women in Scripture who walked in that quiet strength. Mary, the mother of Jesus, chosen, holy, powerful, and yet she carried the Savior in silence. She didn't announce her worth. She didn't demand validation. She simply said yes, and in her stillness, heaven moved. Or Hannah, who wept in prayer without saying a word out loud, her lips moving with no sound. And still, God heard her. He honored her silent cry. He turned her pain into purpose. These were women who didn't need noise to be seen by God. Their strength was recognized in the quiet. The same is true for you. You don't have to be in every conversation. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. Your power is not diminished just because others can't see it. God's validation is not based on visibility. He doesn't need a stage to affirm what he already placed inside of you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is sit in your stillness and trust that you're already enough, that you don't have to earn his favor, that you don't have to compete to be chosen. You already are. Your stillness is not inactivity. It's alignment. It's your spirit tuned to his voice. It's your heart willing to wait for his timing, and waiting is hard. Waiting takes courage. Stillness takes discipline. But in that place, God refines you. He prepares you. He strengthens you. And when the time comes, the strength you built in silence will speak louder than any words ever could. Don't let the noise of the world distract you from the power of your stillness. Don't let the pressure to perform pull you out of position. There's something about a woman who knows she's backed by God. She doesn't chase attention. She carries authority. She doesn't need to shout to make an impact. She just needs to show up in truth. And when she does, chains break, doors open, lives shift, not because she forced it, but because she allowed God to lead. Sometimes God will keep you hidden for a season so he can strengthen what the spotlight would damage. He'll develop your character in quiet places so your calling won't crush you later. He'll build your confidence in him before he builds your platform. And if you can trust him in the stillness, you'll be able to trust him in the storm. Because strength that is born in silence isn't shaken by noise. It's not threatened by other people's success. It's not desperate to be seen. It's secure. It's grounded. It's divine. You don't need to raise your voice to prove your worth. You don't need to post your pain for it to be real. You don't need to explain your every move for it to matter. God sees the whole picture. He sees the weight you carry with grace. He sees the moment you hold your tongue when your flesh wants to fight. He sees the way you love people who've hurt you. And that strength, that holy restraint, that quiet power is part of your calling. There is a power that only comes from restraint, from peace, from stillness. The world may never celebrate it, but heaven does. Heaven responds to it. When you stay faithful in silence, you invite the hand of God to move in ways noise never could. When you trust him in the still places, he shows up in the loud ones. And when you remember that being seen by God is more important than being seen by people, your life takes on a whole new strength, one that cannot be shaken, one that cannot be taken. You are powerful not because of how loud you are, but because of how deeply you believe, how boldly you stand, and how faithfully you trust. That kind of power doesn't fade. It multiplies. And it always moves the heart of God out, even when the world overlooks you. Heaven never misses your name. That may be hard to believe when you're sitting in the shadows, doing all the right things and wondering if anyone notices. When your phone is silent, your efforts unseen, and your heart starts to question if any of it matters. When you show up for people who forget you, give your best and get overlooked, and quietly wonder if you're invisible. The world has a way of rewarding noise, spotlight, and image. But God looks deeper. God looks into the heart. Heaven sees you when no one else does. There's a sacred comfort in knowing that God is not swayed by popularity or performance. He does not forget the quiet labor of love, the silent prayers, the unnoticed sacrifices. You may not be trending, you may not be clapped for, you may not even be invited, but heaven has never missed your name. God wrote it in the palm of his hand. You were chosen long before anyone had an opinion about you. You were called before they overlooked you. Their lack of recognition has nothing to do with your value. You were never meant to live for the applause of people. Their approval is fleeting, but God's calling is eternal. He doesn't validate you by the titles you hold, the positions you're given, or the amount of likes on your last post. He sees you in the moments that go unnoticed. He honors your faithfulness when the world doesn't. When you love without being loved back, when you stay kind in the face of disrespect, when you serve with no expectation of return, those are the things heaven counts as holy. And while the world may walk past you, God stands beside you every time. There is divine purpose in your hidden seasons. The world may call them insignificant, but heaven calls them preparation. Sometimes God will let you be hidden, not because you're unworthy, but because he's working. He's protecting you from premature exposure. He's refining you for what's to come. He's developing your character in the quiet so your integrity can sustain your future. Because not all visibility is a blessing, and not all silence is absence. Sometimes it's the grace of God shielding you while he builds you. Think of David tending sheep in the fields, completely overlooked by even his own family when the prophet came looking for a king. His name wasn't even mentioned, but heaven knew it. Heaven had already selected him. While he was out in the pastures, away from the spotlight, God was watching. God was preparing. And when the moment came, no one could take his place. The anointing waited for David. Because when God calls your name, it doesn't matter who forgets it on earth. It will still be honored in heaven. It's easy to feel discouraged when you keep showing up and no one sees. But God sees. He sees when you encourage others even while you're feeling empty. He sees when you work hard and stay humble. He sees when you push through exhaustion and keep going anyway. You may not be celebrated, but you are consecrated. There is something sacred about being known by God. He doesn't miss a single detail, not a single tear, not a single act of obedience, not a single moment of surrender goes unnoticed. Your worth isn't found in being seen by many. It's found in being loved by the one who created you. And that love is never based on your performance. It's rooted in your identity. You don't have to fight for a seat at the table when God has already reserved your place. You don't have to force doors open when he holds the keys. He is not limited by what others think of you. He is not waiting for a committee to approve what he's already ordained. So when you feel like you've been forgotten, remember that your name is still being spoken in heaven. Angels are being assigned, prayers are being heard, and purposes are being aligned, all with your name attached. You don't need the world to validate what God has already confirmed. Your calling doesn't depend on being seen by people. It depends on being obedient to God. Keep showing up. Keep being faithful. Keep planting seeds in faith. The harvest is coming, even if you can't see it yet. There are times when being overlooked is protection. When God allows you to be hidden so he can strengthen you in secret. Not everyone is meant to see your growth process. Not everyone is equipped to handle the oil on your life. God will hide you until the time is right. And when that time comes, nothing and no one will be able to block it. Because what God has for you is yours. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to compete for it. It will come to you because it was always meant for you. And the silence, it's not rejection, it's positioning. God often moves the most when it seems the quietest. You may feel alone, but you are never abandoned. You may feel unseen, but you are not unknown. The creator of the universe knows your name, your dreams, your struggles, and your heart. He is not watching from a distance. He is walking with you in every step, every tear, every moment of doubt. And even when no one else notices, he does. He sees the mom who's exhausted but keeps loving. He sees the student who's anxious but keeps showing up. He sees the woman healing from heartbreak, but still speaking life over others. He sees the one battling depression, but choosing to believe anyway. These acts of courage may not be trending, but they are shaking heaven. They are drawing favor. They are laying the foundation for miracles. There is something unshakable about knowing that God knows your name, that no matter who rises or falls around you, no matter who forgets you or leaves you out, you are not forgotten. You are seen, you are loved, and you are called. And when the time comes, everything He's spoken over your life will unfold exactly how it was meant to. Not a moment too soon, not a second too late. Even when you're not tagged, even when you're not invited, even when you're not recognized, remember, you are still chosen. And that choosing came from heaven. The highest authority already said yes over your life. So walk in that, breathe in that. Let it quiet your fears and lift your chin. You don't need to be on every stage. You don't need every eye on you. You just need to remember this. Your name is known by the one who holds eternity in His hands, and He has never missed a thing. So when you feel unseen, unheard, or overlooked, remember this. Heaven has never missed your name. While the world may measure worth by noise, visibility, and applause, God measures it by faithfulness, character, and heart. Your quiet strength, your unseen battles, your unwavering trust, they are not in vain. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are chosen, called, and deeply known by the one who shaped you with purpose. So stand tall in your stillness. Move forward in your hidden season. Speak softly with unwavering power. Because even when no one else sees you, God does. And in His eyes, that's more than enough.